Joining us now to discuss Jeff Sika, Scott Martin, Liz McDonald, and Ashley Webster. All right. Well, we know stocks took a hit Thursday and Friday, mostly on interest rates, getting through 3% and gaining momentum. Without bond markets being open today, Scott, how do we assess today's session?
I think you can trust today's session, Charles, because you're right. I mean, this is a follow through from data, market reaction in the bond market that we've seen the last few days and, frankly, weeks. This has been building up for some time now. You've got a Federal Reserve that I think is being deliberate but pragmatic with the data. You've got improving economic data, which backs up what the Fed's doing. And, frankly, this is just a return to normal. So, to me, even if rates do tick up a little bit today and the market does react adversely, I think we're getting towards the end of this, say, sickness that this market seems to have over the fact that the 10-year note is now comfortably above 3%.
February, we saw something similar to this, Jeff. February 2nd, the jobs number comes in, 2.9% year-over-year wage hike. The market goes crazy. The Dow's down 666 points. A couple days later, the Dow's off 1,100 points. A couple days later, the Dow's off 1,000 points. 3,000 points as we approach 3%. We're north of it now. The first time we went north, though, in April, May, the market didn't panic. Is there a phase here where we just have to get accustomed to the idea that 3.5% is a possibility?
I do think there is a phase here, and I think that as long as we stay status quo with these rising interest rates and they don't increase too dramatically, it's probably going to move forward in this trajectory. However, the one issue that I think the market is most concerned about is tariffs and the trade war with China. If that escalates, that's when we'll see a greater...
Is the market afraid of that, or market investors afraid of that? Because the market has rallied 3,500 points since the trade war began. So I don't think the market's afraid of it. Perhaps professional investors are afraid.
I think the investors right now know that we've had a market that's come a long way over these years. And if it is an excuse to sell, to take profits on already appreciated positions, they will use it. But I think most people have believed that it's not going to result in any legitimate trade war.
Right.
So,
yeah, when JP Morgan's looking at it, they're saying when you do the math on this, it's a nominal impact to output. At less than 1%, I think 0.1%. So the question is
0.1%
on output. So the question is, will it create inflation? JP Morgan analysts are sanguine about it. They don't think so.
No, I don't think so. John Lonsky said he felt that 3.5 was a tipping point where we should be worried. I'm not so sure about that. Can we hit 3.5 and not go into panic mode? Does that really hit economies when we get to that level? Because we're pretty close now.
I mean, I think, Scott, I want to bring it back in. I mean, a lot of this would have to depend on the underlying the economy, wouldn't it?
Data. Yeah. It does. And, I mean, Charles, this is what's crazy, right? And the market is fun, and it's fun being an investment advisor right now, I guess, because to your guys' all points, which are very, very appropriate, the market's reacting differently to similar data now. Now the market's in a bad mood because the economy's good, because the Fed's doing what they should be doing. And don't forget, I mean, look at the last couple press conferences the Fed has had, you guys. They've talked about being accommodative still. I mean, this is still a Fed that is dovish in hawk's clothing in the sense where if things get disrupted, the Fed's going to step off the gas pedal here and let the economy breathe a little bit.
All right, guys, on Friday, we got the jobs report. Two things that stood out to me. I talk about it all the time, the dirty fingernail jobs. We're talking 23,000 construction, 18,000 manufacturing, 6,000 mining. Also, we saw great numbers for black and Hispanics, unemployment to population ratio. I think this is a great economic story. And, Jeff, I also think it's a great political story.
I agree. I think the manufacturing jobs, and we're about to see a big surge in construction jobs as a result of what's in the tax code on construction and opportunity zones. That's going to increase construction dramatically. So I think we're going to see an even bigger surge in the next 6 months in those types of jobs.
Your 52-week numbers, Charles, nearly 650,000 jobs created in the dirty mining, construction, and manufacturing. Watch the wage growth. We're look at this. Construction wages are up well north of 3%. And, when you split out the sectors, the information services up nearly 5%. So banks, utilities up well over 4% wage increases.
There's an article in today's Wall Street Journal that about the money being pumped into infrastructure. We haven't even had an infrastructure plan go through Congress already. No. The numbers are astronomical, Ashley. I mean, it looks like this is going to continue.
And I would hope so. I mean, that was a big hope for this administration. A lot of talk about infrastructure, how bad the infrastructure is now, and how we can really get shovel-ready these projects. I'm finally glad glad that we're hearing that something is being done on this.
Well, and the brilliance of the Opportunity Zone legislation in the tax plan is now you're going to have investors who have big capital gains that are able to invest in these projects.
Yes.
You're going to see a tremendous upsurge in construction jobs and an increase in wages that's going to help everybody.
By the way, big shout out to Senator Scott on that one. He insisted that that was part of the tax plan, and it's a great thing President Trump listened to him. Scott, what do you make of it?
Listen, I think Jeff's right. I mean, you're going to see a big surge coming. The economy may need it, too, at that point as well, because, coming into the winter months when things tend to slow down anyway, construction-wise. So infrastructure spend is something that the economy's been waiting for and something we need desperately.
All right, guys, let's take a quick check of the big board. The Dow's open now. The market's open for 6 minutes. You can see we're off the lows of the session. I think we're going to have people buying these dips intermittently, not big. I don't think they want to give their hand away, but I think perhaps you got some big-pocketed smart folks out there buying these dips. Meanwhile, General Electric shares, they continue to do extraordinarily well after announcing their new chief. J.P. Morgan, by the way, they got an upgrade this morning. In the meantime, J.P. Morgan cutting 400 jobs in their mortgage division. And, of course, there's always Tesla. Good weekend for SpaceX, but Tesla still squarely in the spotlight. Shares under some pressure. Take a look at Ford. Now the company confirming plans to cut white-collar jobs. They also want to streamline operations. Scott, the shares are down year to date, but if you look at the data on this, going back the last 2 or 3 years, it was clear they were losing market share. It's interesting, they had a telegenic, handsome CEO that would come on TV, and for a while we loved him because they didn't take a bailout, but some bad things have been going on for that company.
Yeah, things looked good, and they were probably looking better than they actually were. Autos are really tough, Charles. I got to tell you, being an investor, really have avoided the auto sector for some time now, other than Tesla for a period of time, which really, if you're buying or selling Tesla, you're just really playing around because who knows what's under the hood there. But to me, going forward in autos, if you're going to go there, you've got to go with the self-driving cars. You got to go with that technology where it's best. And to me, that's still Google/Waymo as far as their technology goes. So I'm staying away from a lot of the traditional guys.
Yeah, Ford didn't take a bailout, but they did put on a lot of debt on its balance sheet to get right through that storm. Right. He's refocusing on trucks and SUVs. They're going to do $22.5 billion worth of costs, targeted cuts in costs. So that's a big number by middle of next year. He's looking for that.
Jeff, peak auto, we've heard it for a couple of years. It feels like we really have finally hit it. Also, the costs, I think, have gotten to the price where people are buying a lot of used cars at this point. What do you make of the dynamics of the industry?
I think, and there's also this whole subprime issue that allowed a lot of people to buy cars that really didn't have the credit to buy cars. There is a tremendous amount of inventory out there. I agree with you that a lot of people are buying used cars, and I think what it's going to come down to is that there's also going to be an increase in steel prices as a result of the potential trade war. Steel has already gone up, which could affect the margins. I agree with Scott. The industry is boring. I mean, at least Tesla, I can't stand the company, but at least they keep it exciting.
It is exciting. All right, folks, let's talk about holiday shopping because it's right around the corner. And there's no doubt there's no Toys R Us, of course, this year. Scott, I got to tell you, the day Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy, since then, Target stock is through the roof. I was there on Saturday to buy some gifts for my granddaughter's 6th birthday. It was packed. People were in there shopping for toys. Is that going to help them or any of these other companies?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Everybody's like, my wife, Charles, was like, oh, my God, Toys R Us is gone now. Where are we going to buy the toys for the kids? And I'm like, wait a second. Are you telling me the kids can't find another toy store they want to go to that's like maybe another mile down the road? I mean, come on. So the reality is this. It's going to help some of the other toy stores like you mentioned, some of the stores that will fill in for Toys R Us. But there's still Amazon, too, out there, which to me is the winner for the holiday shopping season. So that's why we own that one.
Charles, Target is most aggressively trying to fill that hole. They are adding 500 square feet in every store. But what it means is that the hot toy of the season will be a lot harder to get because it's not going to be stacked up high like it was at Toys R Us. Yeah. Those hot toys are going to go quickly, so don't leave it to the last minute.
and when you go to buy your Kiwa and kombucha and Whole Foods is setting up floor space for toys, which should be very
There's a big void there. There's a big void there. And when you take the kids shopping, it's a lot different than shopping online. Yeah. Hey, guys, thank you very much. Scott, Jeff, really appreciate it, guys.